Welcome back to more Deep Space D6. Today we'll be doing a normal run on the easiest difficulty, going to Ouroboros as the final boss with the last ship we have not tried yet. So we have tried the Halcyon, which is the suggested ship for your first attempt, and we did 2 attempts with that, which both failed. We tried the Athena and got sort of edge cased, I think I called it. And last time we tried that drone ship, which I forgot the exact name of, I think the AG8, that's what it's called. And we won with that. Quite easily, I'd say, although we had no dice left in the end. And also I did realize when editing the video or after that I did do a few small mistakes while playing. I made a few mistakes, which I'll probably talk about next time we play with that ship, but I'll just quickly mention here. So if a card tells you to send units to the infirmary and you have none, you do have to send drones to the infirmary, even though those dice are locked in as drones. If you have to lose units to the infirmary and you have no available crew, you have to start losing drones. So I think you maybe even have the choice to always use one of your drones. And in the end then, against the boss, I think once or maybe even once before against one of the normal threats, I didn't do that because I thought we had no crew left, so no one can be sent to the infirmary, but apparently at that point you lose dice or drones to the infirmary, which thematically doesn't make a lot of sense, but that would make the drone ship a little more vulnerable to those kinds of threats. Even more so than it already was to the internal threats. But yeah, I think that wouldn't have really influenced the outcome because we did win quite easily in the end, and I think the boss rolled that only once. But who knows? Who knows? So we will definitely try a run with that again, playing with hopefully the correct rules. But the only way I found that out was by looking online, because as I said, I was suspecting we did something wrong because it seemed so easy. And yeah, the rulebook is not great. Now, with all that out of the way, today we'll be playing the Mononoaware, I don't know what exactly the pronunciation there is, which is this weird alien ship, lore-wise, and has a few little quirks in how it is operated. On the back it just says that how the override works and how the equilibrium works and how these weapons work, which we'll get into in a second. And also the rulebook explains some more things. So the commander action, the override means we place a commander on one of these die faces here from 1 to 6, and that is then overridden or blocked for the turn. So if I now place this on a 4 and then roll the threat die, and wow, okay, first try. Okay, I was going to make a joke about it not being a 4, but okay, so I rolled a 4. In that case, that would then be blocked, so the threats would not activate from that dice roll. So you can block out those, and I think you could even, if you have several commanders, block out several dice, but only for one turn. Because after that you gather back your dice, obviously. So the equilibrium says here swaps your shield with your hull, and this little icon, we had that with the drone ship, just means any crew. So this can be any profession, just not a scanner die, obviously, because they are not really crew, they are put up there. And the rulebook just says you can't do that if that would swap your hull to 0, so you can't use the equilibrium when your shields are at 0 and then gain shields with no hull. That's not possible. And the last few informations are for this weapon system here. So if you use a tactical die, you have to first lock in other dice here in these two spots, these two stations, and those determine the effects of the weapon, as you might be able to guess from this little box up here. So one tactical die on its own doesn't actually do anything for this ship, only in combination with other dice. So if I first lock in a commander, which does 1 damage to all threats, and then maybe a medic, and then I use a tactical die, once these weapons are sort of manned or charged, to actually fire them or use them, which would then use up all these 3 actions and do those effects. So 1 damage to all threats and complete an internal threat. And we can see here the engineers allow us to discard cards of the threat deck, so sort of burning through the threat deck without fighting them. The tactical dice, now remember, not this one in the middle, only the ones locked in here, so you need at least 2 tactical dice to be able to use that damage. 3 damage, but to a single threat only. And the green, the shield, science, I guess, usually has to do with shields, but for the weapon system just does 2 damage. However, you can split those up. The rulebook clarifies that. And yeah, so this seems super interesting and like a fun sort of mini puzzle in and of itself. And then the other dice also have their own sort of standard effects here. Repairing hull for 3, which is quite a bit. Returning units from the infirmary, recharging your shields, and that override. Yep. So that's that. One more thing, the Monono Aware also only has 2 threat dice spaces or 2 scanners, which means you will draw more cards, I'm guessing. But we'll see about that. We might not even roll as many dice because you can actually lock dice in. So if I only roll 1 tactical die and have nothing, I use my other crew here and I have nothing to put down here, I can lock that in for 1 turn or even several turns, I think, and then activate that with an additional tactical die in the future. So that might mean we get to roll less dice, which might sort of compensate for this smaller threat window up there. Let's draw our first 2 threats. Ooh, the meteoroid, that's kind of nasty. A rescue mission, I seem to be drawing those a lot in the beginning, and a panel explosion. Interesting. Let me quickly check the focus one more time, maybe like this. This camera doesn't have too great depth of field, I think is what it's called. So if I focus on this, these cuts out of focus and but I think like this we're sort of in a healthy middle. So we can start. Let's roll our crew. That's a nice spread, I'd say. So we do have 5 shields and we have a recharge shields here. So if we manage to kill the meteoroid outright, we could recharge, our shields could eat that completely and then we can recharge it afterwards. Now we do have 5 damage with these 2, but then we don't have a threat die to activate the weapon. We do want to probably get rid of the panel explosion, which I don't see the point in, because this costs the same, completing an internal threat through there, except we also need a tactical die, so I will just use that medically normal way. But this could definitely be nice for things that need several dice, like the time warp or the invaders, if you don't roll the specified ones. Or maybe even distracted, I think. That also needs 2 dice, yeah. Okay, so what do we do with all of these commanders? Now I'm kind of excited for this AoE damage, 1 damage to all threats, because no other ship has that as far as I can tell. But right now with only the meteor it doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, let's do the following. Let's just use these 2 for maximum damage. So we do 1 damage to all threats and then 2 more damage like that from the green die. And now we block out 2 numbers. Now we could block out the 1, which would ensure that the meteorite doesn't crash into us. On the other hand, we do have 5 shields and could recharge them next turn, but we don't know what the next card is. If that's something that also triggers on a 1, that would be nasty. I think we'll tempt fate here. Let's block out maybe the 4 and the 5. I seem to remember those being on some of the nastier cards, like the Corsair and so on, which do higher damage. If the meteorite crashes into us, I think that's fine, because our shields eat it. Okay, draw a threat. Oh, there's the invaders. I was just talking about them. And let's roll the threat die. A1, okay. Yeah, but as I said, at least nothing else triggered, so the meteorite is disposed of and we have a good shot at recharging our shields next turn. Didn't send a unit to the infirmary, and we can now sort of, if we have commanders left over, try to prevent that by blocking 2s and or 4s. Okay, let's gather our dice here. Also haven't rolled a scanner yet, which is nice. Ooh, a lot of commanders. No shield dice. Okay, so this ship has no sort of dice manipulation as far as I can tell, right? So the Halcyon had that commander where you could change another die into any die. The Athena had that copy ability where the commander could copy another die, which doesn't give you new ones, but at least sort of a bit more, yeah, flexibility. And the drone ship had that commander drone that just gave you straight up rerolls. Also, didn't one of the ships have that complete reroll? Maybe that was the Athena, right? Where the medic gave you a complete reroll of all dice. And this ship doesn't seem to have that. So I think we rolled no scientists, and now there's no way for us to actually recharge our shields this turn, and no way to get a scientist. Okay, let's do the following. Let's shoot the weapon using these 2, which will complete an internal threat, the invaders, which is very nice. Rescue this soldier using a normal medic die. I'll maybe put it, I usually put them down here, so what this allows us to do, we roll all scanners in a round. We haven't rolled any yet, but we might. And now let's just do big overrides across the board. Maybe, so because we have no shield, I do want to override the 2, just so we don't get solar flared again. If we now draw the solar flare and roll that 2, we have a bit of past trauma regarding that now, we'd be dead immediately. Now that's very unlikely that the next card is the solar flare, but okay. And maybe the 4 and the 5 again, I guess. Why not? Let's block those 3. We actually could have, no, we couldn't have done an equilibrium. Yeah, interesting. I'll have to keep that in mind, that option, because I completely forgot, although in this case we were at 0 shields. Let's draw our next card. It's just a fighter, but we've blocked the 2 and the 4. Very nice. So now we can roll. Okay, it wasn't 2 or 4 either way, but so this fighter couldn't do a thing, even if we rolled a 2 or a 4. Wow, I'm messing up the board here. Let's see here. Ooh, lot of tactical. Let's recharge our shields. Good repair hull. Actually, let's do the following. Let's shoot this weapon like this, discarding the top 2 cards of the threat deck. I'll discard them on screen so you see what's out. The Time Warp and a Don't Panic. Okay. Some good, some bad. Glad we got rid of the Time Warp. Like this. So this is like 2 turns of progress already. And then let's just lock in these 2. I don't know if that's smart or not, only rolling 4 dice next turn. But if it goes south, we can always recall those, I think. And then we have a good chance of doing big damage next turn. Or actually, we could also just... Yeah, I think we'll just do the safe play here and lock in 1 and use the cannon, although this damage is a bit wasted on the fighter. but I don't like the idea of locking 2 of our 6 dice. That seems way better. Just cleared the board and roll the full crew next time. And we healed up. Very nice. Okay. Draw the next card. Cloaked Threads. Yeah, don't need to roll the threat die, because at most these Cloaked Threads will trigger and do nothing. Ooh, and there's some scanners. We draw a Strike Bomber. No, I don't like that. And we've got some interesting dice here. So now I wish I had saved up some of those damage dice. But, let's see here. I don't really wanted to send units to the infirmary, but we don't have commanders to override it. Let's use our rescue soldier. I think this is as good a time as any, because we rolled 2 scanners this turn. And we roll those and see if we get maybe some commanders or some tactical dice. Wow, okay. More greens and more yellows. So let's cue the Cloaked Threads. And can't really do much else, I think. Can lock those in. Do I want to do that this time? So many tasty effects up here, but without a tactical we can't do anything. Yeah, so do we want to do damage or do we want to discard some cards next turn? So the medic is out, I'd say. We don't even have an internal threat at the moment. Interesting. Or do we want to mix one of each? Nah, I think let's prep for damage and hope we roll a threat die. Yeah, so that card then, the rescued soldier, didn't really give much more options to us. Sadly, that'll be that. Let's draw a bounty ship. Ugh, that's that shield destroying ship again. So roll, we have nothing overridden. A4, that's the strike bomber. So 1 damage and we send a unit to the infirmary. And now this is a bit, stings a bit, because now we're only rolling 3 dice all of a sudden. Although 2 of those aren't actually doing nothing for us. We just need to get them to pop, sort of. And no such luck. So if you don't roll tactical, you're really not doing much here. Can't really repair our hull. I mean, we could do an equilibrium and then repair the hull. But I don't see the point just for 1 shield. I'd rather override maybe the 4 to lower the chance of losing units to the infirmary. And this will be wasted. Yeah, I think doing an equilibrium now doesn't make much sense, because if the bounty ship destroys all shields and does 1 hull, we'd rather have it destroy 4 shields and then do 1 hull than the 5 shields and have 1 less hull in return. Yeah. Okay, let's just draw the next card. Cosmic Existentialism. And I rolled a 4, which bounced all over the place. So that's the strike bomber again. That sucks. Ah, but no, we blocked that. Right, oh, perfect. Lucky break there. And now we only gather these 2 dice. Wow, okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna gather these 2 as well. Just because we need a medic and that little play there didn't work out. Now it does mean that we can't use any more signs. I think because these were already assigned, we could have used them to do damage with 1 tactical die. Now we can't reassign them because of the existentialism. But that's gonna be fine, I think. So that's another scanner. And there's these solar winds. That's that combo that killed us last time. Or I think the time before that with the Athena. And it could as well this time, because this ship also only has 5 hull. So if we roll a 2, we lose all our shields and then lose 6 hull, which we can't survive. So I think we should definitely override the 2, just to prevent the insta-kill there. And then we don't have much left again. Let's override maybe the 3 as well, because of the strike bomber. And that's that. Didn't roll a medic, didn't roll a tactical crew, didn't roll a science crew. Yeah, really annoying so far. Let's roll here. Rolled a 6, so that's nothing. Oh, I should have drawn a card first. Let's see. Nothing that triggers on a 6 at least. Another ship ignoring shields. So we gather our crew. Yeah, not doing too hot at the moment. Started off so well, but we just didn't roll any tactical since then. So one more scanner. But now that changes. Let's see. So I want to return all units. Yeah, all from the infirmary, definitely. I need to assign this to the existentialism before doing anything else, though I'd love to do some damage. We'll have to wait for that. Now, do we... Sadly, we can't keep that around to use it as a sort of trigger here. To assign it there, we could only lock it in here, so we would still need to roll another tactical dice next turn. Or do we just take what we got here and discard our top card of the threat deck? I think we'll do that. Let's just discard the top card. No, don't panic. Okay, great. I've discarded 2 don't panic so far. And but on the harder difficulties, I guess that can't happen to you. So then the discard is guaranteed to be valuable for you. Yeah, and then again, we do no damage this turn. Let's draw the next card. Now this is very... and the flagship. So this is very scary because we did not roll a single commander and nothing to do damage to the bounty ship. So that means we are totally at the whim of the die here. If we roll a 2, the run ends because of that same combo again. And that's a 1. So we destroy all of our shields and lose 1 hull. And we lose 1 more hull, but at least the solar winds don't pop. Yeah, so could have locked in the threat or the tactical die here earlier, but I do want to roll maximum number of dice. Let's see. There's some damage, I think. So let's recharge our shields first and foremost. Now, overriding the 2 seems very valuable. But then again, we could also do some damage. And I think actually that's better because threats trigger from top to bottom, and I don't know where the solar winds are placed, but I usually place them just up there. Yeah, when drawn, place this card above all the external threats. Oh, so actually this should be on top here, out of frame. So then that insta-kill combo doesn't even exist. Because it says in the rulebook, threats trigger from top to bottom, left to right. And the way we drew them just so happens that the bounty ship triggers before the solar winds, but actually the solar winds are sort of the very first threat in all cases, because they are placed at the very top. Interesting. Okay, so I'll do that right now. Because, so what I was gonna say is, or actually I'll just place them to the very left, then they trigger first. What I was gonna say is we could damage the bounty ship, moving it downwards, and that way ensure that the solar winds trigger first. But reading through the rulebook back here, I just realized that I was playing that wrong. So we wouldn't have lost that run back then. That's kinda annoying. Okay. So a commander is so much damage here, 1 damage to all threats, that's 5. And the green damage can be split up. So let's do those and probably just fire that. So 1 damage to all threats, not the solar winds. Now that does leave us open to taking quite a bit of damage. If we roll a 1 here or a 2. But I think it's fine because the solar winds trigger first. And then we do 2 damage for this green die, which can be split up. So let's just take out the bottom 2 here. Okay, so this is looking a lot better already. Yeah, so if that's kind of cool. So the ship does get a bit stronger the more threats are on the board just because of that AoE. Your weapon sort of scales with the amount of threats. So then that commander came in very clutch. 5 damage just from a single commander, and I guess the tactical here. Do we want to lock this in for damage in the future? Actually, I think so, because we'd be hoping to roll probably one of those, or maybe a commander. And if we just take it back and then roll, we are just risking rolling another scanner. Yeah, I think if you like the die phase, it's a good idea to lock maybe one in. If you don't and you're just locking them in for the sakes of not wasting them, I think then that's a waste in that case, funnily enough, because then you're taking away your own dice rolls and just locking in die phases you don't really like. Not sure yet. This is just me spitballing while playing. Let's draw our next threat. Raiders. Just killed some. And a 5. Now that is 3 from the flagship. And that's it. Okay, that's fine. Let's roll our 4 dice. We have not rolled scanners in a while, which is not a complaint. Far from it. And there's a scanner, of course. So that's another threat card. But it's a rescue mission, but then we draw another threat, I think. And that's friendly fire. Immediately send all our tactical dice to the infirmary. I hate friendly fire, I can tell you this. So I was happy after we rolled, because we rolled a tactical die, but now that's gone. So let's just use this to return our units from the infirmary, and probably use this to get the telepath. And because it's looking kind of crowded here, let's use that immediately just to gauge if any very nasty things are coming up next. So we look at the next 5 cards of the threat deck. We might be able to decide if we recall this die or not from that. So the top 5 are these. And let's see here. Okay, so this is in reverse order. So the next one is the pandemic. Not great, but at least semi-easy to get rid of and also only triggers on ones. The destroyer, okay, that's like medium scary, I'd say. A lot of damage, but not a lot of health. Interceptor. Orbital cannon, okay, so that's gonna get annoying. Let's try to remember that after the interceptor is the orbital cannon and a don't panic. I don't know what to do with that information, to be honest. Let's put back the cards. And that's our turn. Yeah. So do we gather that back then or not? I'm not sure. We have to see. So let's draw that pandemic. Roll the die here, maybe depending on if the pandemic hits or not, which it doesn't. That's a 2. So I think in that case we can afford to leave that in here one more turn, although... No, I think it's fine. Let's roll 5 dice. 5 is still fine. Yeah, so both our hull and our shield aren't looking too hot. Oh, actually, I didn't even... I think we just lost because I was just looking at the pandemic, but the 2 is that solar winds, so we lose 5 hull. Yeah, so we're dead. Okay, wow, Short one, almost didn't notice I died there. Yeah, okay, so this attempt had its ups and downs, but mostly downs, and just didn't feel like we were able to do much. Now, you usually aren't if you don't roll tactical dice, but as I said, this ship does not have any manipulation of the dice in form of re-rolls or copying them or something like that, or changing them even at will. So you were really, it really felt like just, yeah, we don't roll tactical dice and suddenly we're wasting a lot of dice each turn. Just cause I'd love to put them in here, use some of their effects, especially the engineers if I don't have hull to repair. But if I don't get the tactical die, I can't use it. Yeah, fast one, but that's sadly gonna be it. I'm not sure, I might do another one, I'll have to look at the clock. Bit of a uneventful and sort of don't know what I did wrong sort of run. Probably just experience and also a lot down to luck. Yeah, so I think locking in those dice earlier was not smart. I saw that because suddenly we were rolling so few dice, and I probably refrain from doing that in the future. I think I'll definitely run it back with this ship and have another try. But until then, see you next time. Bye bye.